he lists ping pong as his strongest sport. You're listening to Game Points with Matthew Ross on TSN Radio 690.
It is Game Points here on TSN 690. Time to talk a little hockey here on the program. I know it's July, but it's also Montreal, and that means it's never out of style. And we're now joined by the Deputy Managing Editor of NHL.com. You can follow him on twitter.com/bcomptonNHL. Live from the New York office, it is Brian Compton. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well, Matthew. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
This is kind of the lull period, if you will, in the NHL. What's burning up the wire right now for you? What are you guys working on in terms of the types of stories?
We're getting ready for our 30 and 30, which begins on August 1st and runs through the entire month. We do a team each day, so the wheels are in motion to get that going. I'm going on vacation tomorrow, so I get a nice week off after a long Stanley Cup playoffs and draft and free agency and all that stuff, but certainly, like I said, the wheels are in motion for our 30 and 30 beginning on August the 1st.
All right, now we have a bone to pick with you. Should have let off with it, but we wanted to ease you into the interview.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so I'm joined by Stefano Micella here in studio, also who works on this program. And over the last, several months, there have been so many groaner headlines. You're the deputy managing editor. Are you responsible for some of these just god-awful, brutal, kind of just pun intended type of headlines? Let me list you a few of them. Stefano's taking some notes.
All right. Here was a story about Dustin Brown and his great leadership, and the headline was Brown Jewel.
Oh, God.
And there was a story of Brad Richards having turned his play around the playoffs, and the headline was From Rags to Richards.
Oh,
and also the trade involving Jason Spezza with the Senators, and Senators are going through changes. It was Sens of Change.
Oh, man. It feels like every time I come to NHL.com, I make that sound. I audible that sound. What is the thinking behind all of these?
Fellas, I'm not going to throw any particular person under the bus. Our production team handles those. But that's really all I can tell you. I am not responsible for those. I'm more of the guy, once you click on the story, I'm more the guy who gives you the headline once you click on the story, more than the headlines that you read when you first visit the site.
From Rags to Richards? Come on. Come on. What was he, a poor guy in the alley who rose up to be a hot? Come on. Anyway, we'll have this audio link on YouTube. You'll be able to share it with some of your cohorts.
Excellent.
And maybe we can nip these in the bud. Wow. All right. I feel better now.
Thanks for visiting the site, though, fellas. I do appreciate
it. Touche. It is Brian Compton joining us from NHL.com. Brian, obviously the free agent frenzy, so to speak, was just crazy this year. So much went into the speculation leading up to it. Was it a little more feverish this year in terms of the content produced and the clicks than previous years?
No, it's usually busy, especially July 1st and 2nd and 3rd. Once we get to Independence Day, fellas, it dies down, right? Because most of the guys that are at the top of the list have found new homes. So the first few days of July are always busy for us, regardless of who's on the market. I thought going into this July 1 that the market wasn't great per se, but still it was obviously very busy, as you guys saw. So the first few days of July are always busy for us, regardless of who's on the market.
Is there any news in August, whether it's a player holdout or following salary arbitration?
Yeah, that's usually all that goes on. We might get a trade or two. As you guys know, there's a few teams that are up against the cap, so you might see some trades that we normally wouldn't see, but other than that, it's usually, like you said, salary arbitration hearings that have to go down.
All right, so as Brian is saying, no reason to check out NHL.com in August.
That's not what I'm saying at all. Please visit each and every day. We'll have something for you no matter what. Like I said, the 30 and 30 segment, we feature one team each day, so that's always a reason to come visit us in August.
All right, elsewhere in the NHL, Martin Brodeur still looking for the right fit, according to the headline on NHL.com right now. Do you have a gut feeling as to where he may end up?
I thought Minnesota when the market first opened. Now I'm starting to worry, guys. I'm not sure where Marty's going to end up. I keep hearing these rumors about the Leafs are going to trade James Reimer to make room for Marty. To me, that makes no sense whatsoever. If it happens, I'll be scratching my head. But if Marty wants to play, he might just have to take a camp invite, I guess, and see what happens. But as each day passes, I think the concern has to grow if Marty's going to play next season.
And if that's the case, and he can't, find another location, then maybe he just says, you know what, screw it, I'll play 15 games and end as a Devil. What do you think?
I don't know. That's certainly a possibility. I just don't know if he's ready to accept the fact that he can only play 15 to 20 games. I think that was one of the reasons why he was looking for a new home from the beginning. It clearly, I don't want to say it was a distraction in New Jersey last year, but I don't think it was a situation that Marty was in love with. So, he clearly thinks he's still a number one goalie. I think his play dictated otherwise last year. I still think he can play in the league, but like you said, it's got to be more of a 15 to 20 game backup role, and I'm just not sure that's something he's willing to accept.
Chatting with Brian Compton from NHL.com. Brian, are there any free agents out there right now that are intriguing you that you're saying, you know what, he wasn't a top-tier guy, but boy, I'm dying to know where this guy ends up?
You know what? I like the Lee Stempniak signing for the Rangers. I think they need depth badly, and they needed to find a guy to make really less than $1 million. They only have $12 million now to sign Derek Brassard, Matt Zuccarello, and Chris Kreider. So they needed to find guys to make really less than $1 million because their bottom six was really in trouble once they lost Brian Boyle and Benoit Pouliot. So to bring in Lee Stempniak and Matthew Lombardi as well, the Rangers look a lot better than they did a few days ago.
Brian, the Chicago Blackhawks are one of those teams really tight up against the cap, and they just gave massive contract extensions to Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane. Who's going to be the odd man out in Chicago eventually?
For me, I think it's going to be Johnny Oduya. I think Stan Bowman's going to get a lot of offers for Johnny. I think he's a guy who can play 18 minutes a game, contribute on the power play, still skates pretty well. So I think he has a limited no trade, so he'll have to give him a list of teams that he can go to. But they're not trading Patrick Sharp guys. I just don't see that happening at all. And I think his agent has been reassured of that. So I think when push comes to shove, I think it's going to be Johnny Oduya who's playing elsewhere come October.
All right. Closer to home here in Montreal, obviously one of the big storylines this offseason for the Canadiens is how much money and how long will they lock up PK Subban for? What's your guess? Everyone's got a guess, right?
Yeah, they should sign him. I would give him whatever he wants, to be honest. I just love PK Subban. I love what he brings to the table, both on and off the ice. I love his attitude. I love his charisma. PK, to me, I mean, you just look at the contracts that are being handed out. I mean, to me, he's a $7 million a year player. So hopefully he gets it. I would give him, 7 years minimum. This is not a guy you want to see playing elsewhere, fellas. So hopefully for PK, this gets all worked out and he gets that long-term deal that he is seeking and that, quite frankly, he deserves.
Now, speaking of the Canadiens, obviously the draft happened a few weeks ago, and the Habs nabbed Sherbak in the first round. What a personality this guy has! Have you seen that? Some of the clips. It seems like he's somebody that you guys will be you'll enjoy covering for a while.
Absolutely, those are the guys that we love to cover. From a New York perspective too, Joshua Ho-Sang is another kid. So I love the personality types. Obviously, you love the guys who have the flash on the ice, and from a New York perspective, Ho-Sang is a kid that obviously needs to be grounded a little bit, and I think that's what the Islanders are going to work on. Hopefully, John Tavares, Kyle Poso, those guys can help show them the way a little bit, but. You don't want to take their personality away completely. I think going back to Subban, that's what makes him such a special player. So those obviously, though, are the guys that I love covering and love speaking to.
All right, we played a game here right before July 1st on this show where we talked about the fact that there are so many old-timers, not old-timers, but so many older players who you don't know if they've played their last game or not in the NHL. And I love getting people's perspectives on this. So, for example, Tim Thomas, will he play again in the NHL?
No.
Hal Gill?
No.
All right. Well, that's a couple. Are there Todd Bertuzzi? How about that one?
Yeah, I think he'll find a home.
All right. Danny Heatley?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't think he was in the same class, but I just wanted to test you there.
He signed with Anaheim, didn't he?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, well, he never know. He might get hurt in camp and never play again. I've just jinxed him. It's Brian Compton joining us here from NHL.com. Were you surprised to see the Panthers sign Kulikov, the defenseman, to a 3-year deal? It seems like we've heard about him being traded, the rumors anyway, for several years.
No, I wasn't surprised. I'm not surprised really when it comes to signings, Matthew. Anything the Panthers do really doesn't surprise me. You saw how busy they were those first couple of days of July, and all the money that they shelled out. Dave Boland, Willie Mitchell, all these guys they signed. So Kulikov's a talented player, and they need him. I mean, that blue line isn't deep per se. Obviously, Ekblad's going to help them a little bit, but you can't expect too much from Ekblad going into the season as an 18-year-old rookie. So. I like the 3-year deal for Kulikov. That didn't bother me at all.
All right, and you mentioned finally in August, sometimes you see trades. Do you see any players that could be on the block that you think may move before training camp?
Yeah, I think going back to what we were talking about before, Matthew, I think Oduya is a guy to keep an eye on. Boston's under cap trouble. Who's going to get moved there is going to be tough. There's so many guys, too, that have no trade clauses, right? So it makes life so hard for some of these GMs. But I think you're going to see a few guys moved. Oduya, I think, is a name for sure to keep an eye on, but I don't think he's going to be the only one. It might even go into September. We'll have to wait and see, but I think you're going to see some guys on the move before training camp opens just because teams they're up against the cap and they're going to need some relief before the season starts.
And just wrapping up with Brian Compton from NHL.com. He's the deputy managing editor over there. Finally, where do you think Vinny Lecavalier plays in the fall?
I think he stays put.
Yeah.
I think the Flyers need that veteran guy on the bottom six. They have some guys up front that can score, but you want to have you want to be able to roll lines. That's what helped the Rangers so much reach the Stanley Cup final. So I think Lecavalier stays. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Well, I saw him yesterday in Old Montreal pushing a stroller, and he had 3 kids, and he didn't look very happy. So I'm sure he wants to get back playing some hockey.
All these guys love a few weeks off, but once you're pushing strollers, the 7th week and it's 95 degrees outside, you're ready to lace them back up, right?
That's exactly it. He is Brian Compton. You can check out NHL.com for more awful headlines. He promises it's not him. But no, there's some great coverage, even in the summer. A lot of great features over there. And check him out on twitter.com/bcomptonnhl. Thanks so much, Brian. Appreciate it.
Anytime, guys. Take care.
Have a good vacation, too.
Thanks, man.
All right, there you go. It is Game Points here on TSN 690. More to come.